Good morning, everyone. Harriet Lakay is my name. I work with Powerful Food, SNV. Thanks.
Everyone, my name is Hilda Evelyn Nachondwa. I'm with the Uganda Solar Energy Association. I work as a business development associate. Thank you.
Good morning.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Annette Nanyanze. I head the Department of Finance and Administration at the National Organic Agriculture Movement.
This discussion, let your perfect will be done, and let every person, every organization that is here be an active promoter of the agenda of today's meeting, active implementers for the good of our country, for the good of our people. We pray all this in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. And we all say, Amen. Paul, you have to control me. I have 20 minutes, but since we've started late, I can reduce. Should I use 20 minutes? Okay. I honor everyone in your respective capacities, all our partners of the Powerful Food Program, our partners on the other topics that we do at CRIC that are here, I honor, I want to call them OBs and OGs of Creek that are here now in other capacities in their organizations. I like to call them my children. It's good to see all of you. And I honor Harriet, who is representing SNV. Thank you for making it here. We expect more people, but as Paul said, we need to get started so that we achieve the goal of today. Many of us are already familiar with Creek as an organization, so I don't want to take a lot of time speaking about what we do. Maybe just a minute on the goal and the extent of our network, and maybe our commitment to continuing to contribute to the advancing of the clean energy sector as we understand the criticality of energy in any financial model. Financiers who are here, we understand the criticality of energy in driving productivity. So Creek is in the center of the conversation. Creek is 25 or over 25 years old. We started at Makerere University, Faculty of Technology then, and we've now progressed to open our doors to work with multiple stakeholders and entities, because we understand the agenda is beyond technology. We require technology, but we need to have conversations such as this, partnerships with different segments. So our head office is currently in Chambogo, but we still maintain strategic MOUs with all, with universities, with research institutions, including Makerere, of course, and others. Our main goal is to increase access to modern types of energy, and we want to do that through three main ways. One is developing knowledge products, intentional knowledge products, or you can call that actionable research, generating knowledge that is demanded for in agriculture, demanded for in policy, demanded for by businesses. So we don't just do research, we do applied research. We pick the questions from the impact communities and then put our effort to answer those questions. And that's how we've ended up in this partnership as well. We also do a lot of work in strengthening capacities, and that cuts across capacities, human capacities, but also other capacities in testing, for instance. We support other countries that want to establish centers like ours. We've worked with over 32 countries. The most recent demand is from Congo Brazzaville, where the president is very excited to work with us, and the knowledge generators there, researchers, to develop a similar center for Central Africa. So skilling, oh, she was clapping. You clap, please. Please follow her. Thank you for your kindness. Yes, so we have the Creek Academy, through which we channel trainings, skilling. That academy was launched by the Ministry of Energy some years back, and we are partnering with many entities. Capacities in knowledge management, you may have heard us speak about that a lot. So we have a knowledge management system tracking all the participants that we train. We profile them. We just concluded a skilling program on e-cooking where we trained over 600 technicians. We know where they are mapped in our knowledge management system, and we intend to continue supporting those that are trained to move into jobs or creating businesses, and linking them to access opportunities, access to finance. And the third leg is on advisory services. As we generate knowledge, we understand that we have to translate the knowledge, package it, sometimes as articles or learning materials, but also in form of policy briefs and different kinds of documents to support the sectors. So for instance, with on clean cooking, with e-cooking, we did one major knowledge product called the e-cookbook for the country that triggered investments into the sector that we took to the ministry, and the ministry owned as a national document together with partners from the UK and other partners. And now you may have heard of how e-cooking is spreading. Over 6 years, we've been doing work on generating relevant knowledge. So we can do publications like you would expect from professors and doctors, but we are intentional on packaging knowledge products that policymakers can consume and utilize to review or audit policies, or do communication programs, strategies to expand and promote those programs. E-cooking is one of those. Productive use of renewable energy is the other. My colleague Paul has been working with many people in the sector. We've generated some knowledge products. Some are sitting on the NREP digital library. And from that work, we've been able to advise on programs. And I believe that is also our relevance in this partnership. So the network of CRIC is over 3,000. We are in a network of researchers, over 106 universities. We've tested over 400 technologies in renewable energy. We've worked with over 40 companies on energy efficiency to support them. And that network is growing steadily. There's an interesting network that is developing that will interest us also in the room, and that is a network on youth and women who are our innovators and entrepreneurs. We have a midterm goal of 2.5 million, and we've started tracking that. I think we're at about 3,000 now, with the Innovators Network, where whatever we generate from programs like this, the businesses that are formed will be nurtured through that network. They are nurtured through that network. Innovations require management, entrepreneurs need support, and we have a lot of young people that have ideas but are lacking anchorage. They don't know where to go for their hands to be held. They need contextualized trainings. And we want to use that network. It has emerged by demand, and I believe that as we do this work, it will speak to that. Lastly, as I wind up on the introduction of CRIC, is maybe this is of great interest for financiers here, is that linked to why we are here today, we already have investment profiles that we've been developing from other projects that are tying into this. To mention one particularly with the World Resource Institute, we've done so much work with them. Paul was the project manager there as well. And that is tying into this program. But what may be of interest for you is the already profiled investable ideas. We have 69 already profiled in a knowledge management platform, the Energy Access Explorer. You may have heard of it. And through this program, we'll continue to build that. I know whenever you talk to bankers or finance, they say, okay, what is your bankable idea? You have very good ideas. Where should we put the money? What do you need? And sometimes it's very hard for an entrepreneur, a farmer, to unpack or to understand or be able to answer that. And because of that, they've lost opportunities. So we've put ourselves in that spot as well, especially since we are supporting entrepreneurs, to be a bridge. And we have 69 projects already within an investment profile that is feeding into this particular intervention within the Powerful Food Partnership, and it's going to be enhanced with more specificity, financial modeling, working together with all of you. So you don't say, oh, these are engineers, they are going to talk, you know, only technology. We now have an appreciation of technology being a key asset for investment, but fitting into a bigger equation. What equation is that? I should have started with that. Paul, sorry, I didn't mark when I began. I really want to manage my time. How many more minutes? 10, 9. Oh, Paul is very exact. 9, okay. I want to write that equation. I know maybe the engineers here don't know it. Is this board cleanable? Hope so. The ledger equation? No one is nodding. Am I? The ledger equation. Our national level is not balanced. That's why we are here. And when we are speaking to investments, they want to see what part of that we are feeding into. I write small letters, I hope you can see. But I know the people that did finance. Angela, you'll help me, I'm not alone. Can you see? So currently, on the number line, I love mathematics. This would be negative, right? Okay. Thank you. So currently, what can represent our liabilities? The public debt. What's our public debt as a country? Anyone knows? Currently, as of now, we've been having a growing debt as a country for the last so many years, and is still projected to grow. Anyone knows?
Plus trillion. 115.
115. We agree. I'm now looking at the financiers, not the engineers. We agree? I take that. Okay, I have a figure, $25 billion. 32 is now at $32 billion, which is roundabout. Okay, so let me write it here again. My parents were teachers, though I ended up as an engineer. I still have liability. Okay, I've written very fat letters. So our assets are in the positive, you agree? Whatever that quantity is. We have knowledge assets. We have geniuses in Uganda. There are people doing research on the level of geniuses, the quality of geniuses in our country. So each individual, every one of you in the room here is an asset for this country. And that's before we go to the other assets, which we are talking about in this program, on regenerative agriculture, on renewable energy, land. We have a lot of assets. Our liability, we can represent, that's a negative, yeah? Let me go through down. Our liabilities seem to be overweighing us at 32 billion US dollars, and the projection is upward. It's been growing, not reducing. So we need to curb it. That's why we are really here. And then what we want is equity. Where are we now? Are we down or up? Profit returns, are we up or down? Down. there is something, it's just yet balancing this. But why I brought out this equation is where we are putting effort, what Power for Food is doing, what we are doing with the investment, developing a blueprint for investment, what we've done with WRI, what we are doing in this program, is to look here and put effort here to invest in order to utilize our assets, which means we need to understand them and we need to intentionally invest in them. And I want to thank Power for Food SNV for identifying, these gaps and allowing for the key partners and, the sectors, the nexus thinking, systems thinking, to really look into what are these? What can we do to power our regenerative agriculture so that we have one aspect that can improve this equation is balancing, I think it's called the balance of trade, that equation, you know it? Our exports should minus imports should give us a balance of trade. Nogamu, you can help me? Our exports, but right now this is imbalance. We are exporting a lot in agriculture as well, but we are importing energy, we are importing technologies, so we have to look into all these aspects to balance this. So we invest in the assets to balance this equation. That's why we are here. As makes sense. Whatever we are doing here, if it doesn't make sense, we will write good reports. We shall have meetings like this, and the people on the ground will still not have the impact, economic impact. We want to see the farmers, the cooperatives, the people involved in regenerative agriculture exporting and getting value and returns on what they are doing. And we need everybody to play their part. I'm so glad that there are banks and so on here, people from the financial institutions. Recently were invited to UDB. Many of you, did you hear about that? It's just, I think it's still going on even. It started this week. We got an opportunity together with NREP. There are things you will notice and say, oh, this is our strength. We want to profile that. And doing that exercise requires winning you over, requires listening to you and working together with you. This will not be the end of the engagement. We will follow up, but let's utilize these few hours that we have here to start that journey. What are the intended outputs of the workshop? A methodological framework that is agreeable. Number 2, a consolidated stakeholder feedback matrix. Number 3, a refining of the investment framework that we have started on. A refined outline, at least. We always prefer to have the conversation during the process, not at the end as we used to do, because there's a lot of systems thinking in this program. And then lastly, we shall of course have a workshop report, and we shall share with you beyond the workshop to continue engagements with you. With that, I want to welcome you again and ask you to participate actively, and allow me hand over the microphone. Clap for me at least. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Susan, for those welcoming remarks. If we recall in our East African history, wherever Julius, the late Julius Nyerere went, he was always called what? Mwalimu. Despite even being a president, the Mwalimu title came before all the other titles he achieved. So I believe that is the same that is following Dr. Susan. seeing, as she mentioned, from her background, coming up, being raised by Mwalimus. So with that, I would like to welcome Harriet just for some brief remarks to greet us, and then we can really get started. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul. Good morning, everyone, once again. My name is Harriet Lake. As I earlier on mentioned, I work for Power for Food Uganda with SNV, and I work as the Leverage Pathway Lead, which maybe in my sharing it might become a little bit clearer what Leverage does. Thank you so much, Creek, for organizing this engagement, for carrying the assignment that has brought us at this level to really get into this review and get people's views and the partners' views of what actually is happening out there in the market. So we appreciate the effort. Thank you, Dr. Susan, for giving that wonderful speech. I know you asked why people were not excited. I think we're amazed with the details of what you are sharing, and we're taking it in. We'll definitely give you more hand claps at break time, you know. So yes, Power for Food is a 5-year initiative that is basically being coordinated by SNV. And this initiative is not only happening in Uganda, it's happening in Ethiopia, it's happening in Rwanda, and it's happening in Kenya, and it's funded by the IKEA Foundation. So SNV is a coordinator, SNV is a convener of this program in Uganda. What does Power for Food seek to do? Power for Food basically seek to build a food system, a movement for food system transformation driven by renewable energy and regenerative agriculture. I bet when you are listening to Dr. Susan, she brought in the concepts. She talked about the importance of regenerative agriculture, the concept or the importance of creating a linkage for this food system to be supported by renewable energy. Why are we looking into this space, or why is Power for Food looking into this space? She tried to draw there something to do with our assets, our liability, the investments. One, we're looking at the issue of around declining food security. We know that the population is growing, the demands are increasing, there are markets out there, and we all look into the same space of agriculture to be able to meet this need. If we do not do anything around this, we are going to keep on noting declining food security in our space. When you look at our biodiversity, if you've looked around, you are going to see that when any agriculture activity that comes up needs to clear land. So there's decline in our biodiversity, and then we have also seen how vulnerable we are to the climate changes that is happening. So Power for Food is saying, if these challenges are out there, how can we come together and tackle those issues so that we can get a sustained food system? So basically, the vision of Power for Food is to achieve renewable energy driven resilient food system where people have equitable opportunities to thrive. And our focus here is on the smallholder farmers and the SMEs who carry out these businesses, and the smallholder farmers who actually do these practices in our community. But they do have challenges as noted above, and we have the potential to create a movement to address those challenges. So our mission is basically to catalyze partnership, strengthen capacities to transform the agricultural food system, and looking at this, the stakeholders, the smallholder farmers, to adopt regenerative agriculture and productive use of renewable energy. How do we implement this activity? We have 3 pathways, and the first one is the learn. She talks about evidence. They are a learning institution. They are doing research. We're like, if we are going to intervene in this space and we are going to create impact or changes, we need to learn. We need to know what has been ongoing. We need to find out what are those evidences, what are the practices that are actually creating changes, and therefore, if they are there, how can we take this forward? If there are challenges around it, what can we do? What can we do to address those challenges? So that is where our learn is. What are the practices? What are the evidences we want to take forward? And then we have the pathway of link, where we're looking at the products and services and the funding that comes into this place. That's when she was saying that we have the financial institutions here. We're asking ourselves, there are products and services that could advance this space, but there are gaps So how can we create a linkage on who has potential? Where are those low-hanging fruits that we can actually tap in as Power for Food to take this movement forward? And then we're looking at the leverage pathway, and this one is basically looking at around policies. It's looking around the advocacy based on evidence which we would have gathered from the land, and we are looking at how do we lead a convergence of these policymakers, of these practitioners, of the funders through leveraging, because there are resources there is knowledge there are platforms out there. So we are not coming into a space where we are starting afresh. So we need to find out how do we leverage on these existing resources to make sure that we build this movement. As I earlier on mentioned, SNV is basically a convener. We do work through partners because we are creating a partnership for this movement. And definitely the government of Uganda is one of our biggest, is our main biggest partner. There are departments, so we have MAIF, we have Ministry of Energy, we have NARO, we have NREP in that space. Then we have the private sector actors. We're here in Nogamu, USEA, we have NGOs, PELAM, AXA, then we have the research institutions, and we also have the media, because if we have information, we need to relay this out so that we can start finding ways of changing mind for people to join the movement for regenerative agriculture and productive use of renewable energy. So in a nutshell, I wasn't prepared for this. That is what Power for Food is all about, and we are hoping that we'll take this forward. We are already in year 2. We started in 2025, so we're actually in year 2 of this program. Should be ending in 2029. So hopefully in the next 4 years that we've started, we will be seeing this turn into reality. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Harriet, for those remarks, as you are hijacked on the fly. Yes, but we thank you for honoring the request to come and greet the audience. Yes. We like to pause here and have a tea break of 15 minutes. Our tea is being served in this corridor. I think members can get their tea and come back here, or even use the space outside here to quickly take your tea, and then we can reconvene at 10:30. Thank you.
and benefits our economy. So thank you so much for taking part of this meeting. I really hope it will be an interactive meeting and not just one where we take notes and put them in our bags at the end of the session, but that we get to fill in the gaps where you feel there is something we missed out. Please feel free to contribute. Each of us is an asset where we work. You have information you may not have, and you might have information that could support our goal of pushing scaling of renewable energy and pure. So I also do entrepreneurship training, so please allow me to write some notes as we go. Like Paul said, I'm introducing my colleague, what he's going to be talking about, and that's the desk review that was done on mapping, like Douglas will say, will explain the investment. I just wanted to put this into perspective before we listen to Douglas, that we are all on the same page. So just to highlight what Harriet was speaking about earlier, this project is about the RAP1 Nexus. So this is basically regenerative agriculture and how it meets pure, which is productive use of renewable energy, right? So the goal is ultimately to scale this, to make sure that we have business models in this sector that are bankable, that are profitable, which I believe the bank has, those are the words they want to hear. Does it make economic sense? How low is the risk? And if we put our money there, are you able to pay back, right? So right now, of course, there are investments in this sector, but as we know, the loans are not so long term, but then the equipment is quite expensive. It requires, long term funding. We have some, of course, donor players, but the finance is not very well integrated. So those are some of the things that we have been working on in the desk review, to map how to close those gaps, to see that as we are working on scaling pure, because ultimately we know if for those who do business, you look at demand, is the demand there, or is there opportunity in the sector that we are talking about? And yes, of course, demand is there, because 70% of our economy as we know it depends on agriculture. The farmers need RA, they need pure. So of course the market is there, they need those solutions. And then you ask ourselves, does the technology work? If you're going to invest in something that's being pushed by these technologies, yes, it works. And for more questions, I think Paul can join that debate. But we all see these solutions work. Technological renewable energy solutions work. The solar irrigation works. Also, regenerative agriculture has a lot of impact on farmers' yield and all of that. So we know this works. Sorry. We know this is working, right? So the demand is there. The technology is working, right? The finance is there. Because if you've attended workshops where financiers are sitting, and even the ones in this room will tell us, the money is there. They are willing to give it to the farmers. So then we're asking, what is the challenge? Because the finance is also there. We have funding from different sources. So what we are trying to address is basically understanding in the risks that are involved, how do we close these finance gaps? So this desk review is mapping where the finance is going, right? How is the finance flowing? And in areas where it's failing to flow, what is the issue? And how do we address these issues? We are also talking about whether the risk is properly structured, because those are some of the things that affect the people's ability to pay. So when you're thinking about these business models, it has to make financial sense. So it will address the financing gaps, the risk, and how we convert these promising pilots in this sector, because they are there and they have a lot of potential and they have a lot of impact. The issue is they are small and they are isolated, right? So how do we bring them together to make them more bankable business models? So we are basically aligning policy, we are aligning finance, we are aligning implementation of the RA Pure, but also just to mention on policy, because you also don't want to do something that you're not sure government will support in 5 years, in 2 years. We all know that this is very much aligned with the national policy. The fourth, I believe is the fourth, right? Yeah, the fourth NDP. So we are on track. So it's not an issue of, oh, will they support? Yes, the support is there from government, the finance is there, and all these things, they are all checking, but we just need to figure out and also agree on how finance policy and implementation are all aligning to make sure that we scale these projects. So I want to invite Douglas with that small introduction to take us through the desk review that was done to this cause. Thank you very much.
Good morning once again, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for appearing for this workshop. My name is Douglas Sebulime from the Center for Research in Energy and Energy Conservation. I work as a financial and investment analyst. Today, I'm presenting a part of the work we are doing. It's a desk review, but we have an intention of coming up with an investment blueprint, especially as far as regenerative agriculture and productive use of renewable energy is concerned. A minute, please. Regenerative agriculture and productive use of renewable energy are very crucial parts that have to be tackled in Uganda, because we noticed that in East Africa right now Uganda is falling behind, yet in all over East African countries Uganda has the most fertile soils, preferably the most the conditions. We have heavy rainfalls, we have good climatic conditions that could actually allow us do our agricultural practices very well and become very profitable. But then we find a challenge. That with all the resources we have in Uganda, still the adoption to RA and pure practices is not as much or as we would expect. So let me go back to the first slide. Thank you so much. First, go back to the first one. The aim of investment blueprint being worked on is to bridge financing gap in RA and pure in Uganda. We realize that we have, like I've explained, we have a lot of capabilities, we have a lot of resources, we have fertile soils, but then why is it that our agricultural practices are not scaling up? Why is it that we are not benefiting in this? Why is it that the farmers are not quickly adopting to these practices? Could there be any challenges? Could there be any concerns? This is exactly what we are looking at. Yes, regenerative agricultural practices help in restoring soil health. This is through crop rotation, practices like crop rotation, practices like using organic manure. Oh, sorry. Practices like using of organic fertilizers, practices like practices like crop rotation and mixing of crops. This helps us to restore the soil health, the biodiversity and resilience. Talking about renewable energy, practices like using irrigation systems, power irrigation systems, processing and cold storage systems that help us to control or reduce the post-harvest losses. Allow me to talk about the problem statement. Reason as to why we are coming up with this blueprint, we have to look at the problems. What problems are forcing us to look at this investment blueprint? What are we intending in coming up with this investment blueprint? We look at the situation in Uganda, where right now we have limited access to affordable credit for the smallholder farmers. This is due to the lack of enough financial history or information that could be provided to the financiers for them to actually access that credit. We have a risk of the changing weather conditions. We've all noted that recently in Uganda, we used to know that in this month there has to be rain, what come what may. But we recently noticed that in the months where it has to rain, it's actually been shining, which is also a challenge. We have a challenge of upfront costs for renewable energy systems, because right now we do not have very many companies or organizations carrying out or producing these renewable energy systems. But then you find out that the few that are having very efficient and very good systems require a big upfront cost for them to actually give or to provide the systems. And since these farmers do not have that upfront cost, or they do not have access to that money, they eventually find themselves not actually adopting to these or getting these systems. Yes, thank you. We also see a problem of Thank you. Sorry for the delays. We also see a problem of fragmented financing landscape. Nowadays, if you're to be financed, especially by the financial institutions, you're required to come up with to come as a group, but not as an individual who wants to be financed. This is because of risks that are anticipated by the financiers. It's believed that a collective responsibility to the payment of our finances actually better than an individual responsibility. Now, because of this, since most of our farmers are using different practices and they cannot actually combine their activities together as one, it's a challenge because they can actually not come together to acquire this finance. And the financiers are saying, we cannot finance you if you're not a group doing a similar or things that can work hand in hand. Yes, we also find a problem of reliance on donor-driven models. As the statistics say, Uganda specifically bases on donor-driven models for the financing. This is from the financial institutions that actually carry on this practice. Why is it that we cannot have other financing models? Why is it that in other countries these financing models are actually working, but in our country we are reliant on only one? We have very many options. Yes, so talking about the financing context, I've just spoken about Uganda being reliant on donor funding. It's reliant on donor funding, microfinance, and limited commercial lending. Now, commercial lending comes with a lot of requirements which are not actually met by the farmers that we have. The farmers that we have are using traditional ways of keeping their records and all that, which is not actually required by the financial lending facilities or organizations. This is a challenge for Uganda because the reason as to why we are doing this, we are trying to find out what other models can we put in place in Uganda that can work. What other models can help us, especially as far as our API is concerned, for us to move on or upscale, because we have all it takes. Why is it that we are not actually using what we have? We see countries that do not actually